Imagine two cavemen, Yuji and Thog, having a heated exchange. Now I know what you're thinking. How does a caveman argument go down? Well, it might sound a bit like this. Ugh grunt, Thog grunt, ugh grunt. Clear as mud, right? Let's say they're squabbling over a fruit, a luscious, juicy peach to be exact. Yuji, our first caveman, believes it's his because he spotted it first. Thog, on the other hand, is adamant that he should have it because he actually climbed the tree to fetch it. Simple enough, right? Well, not for Yuji and Thog. Yuji starts, ugh grunt, ugh grunt, ugh grunt, which loosely translated means, I saw it first, it's mine. Thog retorts with a vehement, Thog grunt, Thog grunt, Thog grunt, which in Thog speak means, I risked my life climbing that tree, it's mine. Here's where the hilarity ensues. Yuji interprets Thog's grunts as, I want to wear the peach as a hat, while Thog thinks Ugh's grunts mean, I want to use the peach as a foot scrub. The result? Utter and complete pandemonium. Yuji is now vehemently gesturing at his foot, while Thog is trying to balance the peach on his head. The peach, caught in the middle of this prehistoric pantomime, is thoroughly confused and probably a little bruised, but as silly as this may sound, it's from this chaos that language starts to evolve. Yuji and Thog, in their own primitive way, were trying to communicate, to express their wants and needs. Their grunts and gestures were the building blocks of what we now call language. So, the next time you're struggling to find the right words, remember Yuji and Thog. Language at its core is just a series of agreed-upon grunts. And though it's much more complex now, it all started with two cavemen arguing over a peach. So, Yuji and Thog might not have sorted out their fruit feud, but they certainly laid the groundwork for what we now call language. Scene script. Fast forward a few millennia. Now we've got English, Spanish, Mandarin, and a host of other languages. You see, we've come a long way from grunts and groans. We've gone from ugh to bonjour, from gur to guten tag. It's truly an evolution worthy of a standing ovation, but let's not forget it's all just agreed upon grunts, no matter how sophisticated it sounds. Now let's take a moment to delve into the absurd hilarity of language evolution. Consider the English word gift. A lovely word, isn't it? It brings to mind birthdays, Christmas and delightful surprises. But if you were in Germany and someone offered you a gift, you'd better run for the hills. In German, gift means poison. Quite a contrast, wouldn't you agree? And let's not forget the classic Spanish word embarazada. You might think you're expressing your embarrassment, but in reality, you're announcing to the world that you're pregnant. Quite a surprise, especially if you're a man. And then there's the Mandarin word ma. Sounds like ma, right? We all love our ma. But wait, if you say ma in Mandarin with the wrong tone, you could be calling your beloved mother a horse. Imagine the family dinner where that mix-up happened. But perhaps my favorite example is from our friends in France. The French word for fish is poisson. Sounds almost like poison, doesn't it? So if you're dining in Paris and your waiter asks if you'd like some poisson, don't panic. He's not trying to kill you, he's just offering you some fish. So you see, language is a minefield of potential embarrassments and hilarious mix-ups. It's a wonder we managed to communicate at all. But that's the beauty of language, isn't it? It's all just a series of agreed-upon grunts that somehow, against all odds, allows us to share ideas, tell stories, and connect with each other. Just goes to show, one man's gift could be another man's poison. But it's not just about words, is it? There's the tune, the rhythm, the accent. Now let's talk about accents. The icing on the language cake. That's right, folks, the linguistic equivalent of a fingerprint. No two accents are exactly the same, and they can drastically change the meaning of our beloved grunts and groans. Take, for instance, the phrase, I can't. In the Queen's English, it's a simple declaration of inability. But up north, in Scotland, it can sound more like a phrase from a horror film, I can't. And suddenly it's not just a statement, it's a dramatic plea for help. Then there's the classic tomato-tomato debate. In the United States, it's a tomato like tomato, a bright red fruit, perfect for salads or a marinara sauce. But across the pond in Britain, it's a tomato, a sophisticated addition to a full English breakfast. Same word, different accents, wildly different connotations, and let's not even get started on the Aussies. Good day, mate, how you going? Down under, that's a friendly greeting, but in the heart of London it might sound like a coded message. Accents are the colourful threads woven into the fabric of language, adding depth, diversity and a dash of confusion. They can be the difference between a friendly chat and a diplomatic incident. They can turn a simple "how are you" into an existential crisis. So let's take a moment to appreciate the humble accent, the unsung hero of language. The subtlest of shifts in tone, pitch and emphasis that can turn a grunt into a symphony. And remember, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about expressing who you are and where you come from. It's about celebrating the diversity of our shared human experience. So next time you're trying to master the Queen's English, remember, it's all in the accent. Ever played Chinese whispers? It's the perfect example of how things get lost in translation. Picture this. A phrase sets off on a journey, a simple, unassuming phrase. It's something as mundane as "pass the salt." Now the first messenger, a Spanish señorita, renders it as "pasa la sal." All's well, right? Not quite. She turns to her Italian friend, a suave gentleman with an air of nonchalance. He hears "pasa la sal," but in the clamour of the pizzeria he mishears it as "pasta la sale," which he in turn interprets as "pasta is on sale." The Italian fellow, still puzzled by the sudden price drop of pasta, conveys this urgent message to a French mademoiselle. She hears "pasta is on sale" as "pâté est en salle," which translates to "dough is in the room." Now this French lady, quite confused as to why there's dough in the room, turns to her German friend, a stout man with a hearty laugh. He hears "dough is in the room" as "Teig ist im Raum," but in the raucous laughter of the beer hall he mishears it as "Zeig ihm den Raum," which means "show him the room." This German man, now tasked with an unexpected tour guide duty, shares this with his Russian comrade. The Russian hears "show him the room" as "pokaji emu komnatu," "pokaji yemu komnatu," but in the chilling Siberian winds he mishears it as "pokaji emu kozla," "pokaji yemu kozla," which translates to "show him the goat." The Russian, now utterly bewildered, relays this to his English pal, a quintessential British gentleman. He hears "show him the goat" as "pokazat emu kozla, pokazat yemu kozla." But in the hustle and bustle of the London tube, he mishears it as "assault the pastor." And that, folks, is how "pass the salt" becomes "assault the pastor." So what have we learned? Language is a beautifully complex, utterly confusing and hilariously misinterpreted system of agreed-upon grunts. Let's take a stroll down memory lane, shall we? We kicked things off with the art of miscommunication. Remember when we spoke about how the phrase "I'm fine" could mean anything from "I'm actually okay" to "I'm plotting your demise as we speak"? Yes, the intricacies of human communication, a delightful minefield of confusion and misinterpretation. Then we plunged headfirst into the great grunt debate. We pondered the philosophical question of whether a grunt in the forest makes a sound if there's no one around to interpret it. We also agreed that the grunt of a hungry lion is universally understood. No translation needed there. We journeyed through the wild world of accents, where a simple phrase like "can I have some water" could sound like a request for a wadda, a wata, or a woulda, depending on where you're standing on this glorious blue marble. Oh, the joy of accents, making simple conversations feel like decoding the Enigma machine. Then we found ourselves lost in translation, where we realized that a word in one language could mean something completely different in another. Like how "gift" in English is a pleasant surprise, but in German it's poison. So next time you're in Germany, think twice before gifting someone a gift. And here we are at the end of our linguistic journey, realizing that language, in all its glorious complexity, is just a series of agreed-upon grunts. We've taken sounds and grunts, dressed them up in fancy clothes and called it language. So the next time you find yourself struggling to find the right words, remember, it's all just grunts. Whether you're professing your undying love, asking for directions to the nearest pub, or simply requesting someone to pass the salt, it's all just sophisticated grunting. And remember, whether you're saying "I love you" or "pass the salt," it's all just sophisticated grunting. UG and Thog would be proud.